what is there in page number 14? Okay, so coming to page number 14, it says that India ranks 1 out of now India ranks 111 out of 125 in hunger index, and the global hunger index score is based on a formula which combines four indicators that together captures the multi-dimensional nature of hunger. So you see, hunger is just not related to starvation, but there are multiple dimensions. And what are those multiple dimensions? The multiple dimensions of nature of hunger, including what? First is your undernourishment, then you have child stunting, then you have child wasting, and then you have child mortality. Fine. So these are your multiple dimension of what? Of hunger. That means all these dimensions will be covered under your hunger. And the Ministry of Women and Child Development yet again questioned the global hunger index and called it a flawed measure of hunger that doesn't reflect India's true position. So what is happening? The Global Hunger Index uses the same data sources for all countries to calculate the respective country score. This ensures that all the rates used have been produced using comparable methodologies. So there have been multiple methodologies that have been used so as to calculate your global hunger index. And what you need to know here is that who is the one who is preparing this global hunger index. So this is prepared by European NGOs. And who are those NGOs? Those are your Concern Wildlife and World Hunger Life. So both these organizations come for finding of global hunger index. And when is this report coming? So global hunger index is an annual report, and this report is using the data of 5 years period. That means all that data taking reference to which this global hunger index is being prepared, this data is coming from the period of 5 years, and based on that they are giving scores from 0 to 100, as I told you. So if the country is scoring 0, that means there is no hunger, whereas if the country is scoring 100 in that global hunger index, that means the country is facing a hunger issue. Fine. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. A key step by Bihar to promote better social justice. Now, this is important with respect to social justice section. What is the steps that are taken by the Bihar for that matter? Now, there are certain dates which acquire greater significance by a stroke of history, and what is that? A caste-based census would provide accurate and up-to-date data on the distribution and socio-economic status of various castes and communities in India. This data is essential for evidence-based policy formulation and implementation. It can help policymakers identify what marginalized and disadvantaged groups and design targeted intervention to uplift them. So, what does the caste-based census, or how does the caste-based census help you? It helps you to identify marginalized and disadvantaged groups. Fine. A caste-based census can help in recognizing and quantifying the extent of historical injustices and disparities that exist in society. Acknowledging these disparities is a critical step towards addressing them. Now, what is the accuracy for efficacy? With accurate caste-based data, the government can develop more effective and targeted welfare programs. That means if the caste-based data is very clear, or you can say the accuracy is sharp, so what could be done is that the government can develop effective and targeted welfare programs. Other than that, what they are saying is that these programs can be tailored to the specific needs of different caste groups, ensuring that the benefits of the government schemes to reach the most vulnerable section of society. Regular caste-based census data can help track the progress of different caste groups over time. This allows for evaluation of the effectiveness of policies and programs aimed at social justice and affirmative action. It will also enable the government to make necessary adjustments to policy when needed. Caste-based data can help ensure fair representation of marginalized communities in government, education, and employment. See, why is this happening? Now, if you have, see, India is a country, we have this traditional way of living, and that traditional way of living often refines to the thing that we have these caste thing that is governing our India very strongly. Then we are a religious country also. So based on that, what is going to happen is that all those caste you see or you consider as to be backward, or you consider as to be the one who are facing all those menial actions against them, so that could be countered by taking social justice actions, and those social justice actions for marginalized communities in which fields. So the fields are your government, your education, and in the employment section. Fine. Reservation and affirmative action policies are often based on caste, and accurate data is crucial to determine the appropriate level of representation required. Now, a caste-based census promotes transparency and accountability in government's effort to promote social justice. That is very much true. See, when you are having this caste-based data, what is going to happen is that there will be a lot of transparency, there will be a lot of accountability, and with respect to what? In respect to promoting social justice. It allows the citizens to hold the government accountable for the equitable distribution of resources and opportunities. So this is what exactly I was saying, that India, the way we have this traditional way of living. So in traditional way of living, we have caste, we have religion. All these factors are governing our this country. So when it comes to making, what distribution of resources, what happens is that we need to take reference of various data. And what is that, like which caste is backward as to what is happening, or what is the present stats. So those stats are present how? Through this caste-based census, and that will make you accountable for the equitable distribution of resources and opportunities. Without accurate data, there is a risk of caste certificates being misused for personal gains or political purposes. See how this caste certificates are being misused. There have been various instances. For example, people of different castes, or you can say general profile, have been using these caste certificates for reservation, or in order to gain the benefits that government is providing based on caste. So for all these purposes, and here the person has mentioned about the political purposes also. That means the certificate is being misused to harness support. Right? A caste-based census can help verify, authenticate the caste status of individuals, reducing the likelihood of fraud and ensuring that benefits are directed to those who genuinely need them. Now, a subject of debate. However, it is important to note that the idea of conducting a caste based census in India has been a subject of debate and controversy. Some argue that it could perpetuate and deepen caste divisions, while others believe that it is necessary to address historical injustices and promote social justice. See, this is exactly what author is meanwhile trying to portray, that if you want the equitable distribution of resources, if you want that there is a kind of equality that is there in the society, so what you need to do is that you need to look after the data very clearly, so as to address the historical injustices that have been faced by various castes, and that shall promote what? Social justice. The division to conduct such a census involves careful consideration of these arguments. Now, caste discrimination in India is a deeply entrenched social issue that has persisted for centuries. Several factors highlight the need for committed government intervention to address this problem. First was historical injustice. Now, see, if there's no issue, then obviously you don't need to have this caste-based census. Then definitely कुछ तो issue है, and based on that issue you can do what? You can bring on all the relief programs, so that these people could be elevated from all the issues they have been facing in his historic time. That means all the historic injustice, and at the same time promoting their well-being for in the present time as well as for the future. So what they want to say is then government intervention to address the problem. And what is that? First, historical injustices. Caste discrimination has its root in centuries. Historical injustice, caste discrimination has its roots in centuries of historical oppression and marginalization. It has resulted in social, economic, and educational backwardness of certain caste groups. Government intervention is necessary to rectify these historical injustices. Now, what is happening is second, constitutional mandate. The Indian Constitution recognizes the existence of caste-based discrimination and inequality and provides for affirmative action measures. Now, we know that the caste-based discrimination has always been there since past, and equality has always been there. So this provides for affirmative actions, and what are those? Reservation in education, employment, and politics. And if this, presently also we are having this, reservation in education and employment in politics section. For what reason? To uplift historically disadvantaged groups. The government has a constitutional obligation to implement and enforce these provisions. Now, what is the third point? Human rights. See, all the atrocities that have been done to these people who are coming from, the lower caste, or you can say all the practices that are inhuman, or for that matter illegal also, they are done because they are the one who are downtrodden. Now, when these things are done to them, one thing is very much evident, and what is that? That there is human right violation. So what is happening is that discrimination based on caste is a violation of human right. The government has a responsibility to protect the human rights of all its citizens, which includes the right to equality, dignity, and non-discrimination. Government intervention is necessary to ensure that these rights are upheld. Now, what is the fourth one? And also talks about social cohesion. Now, we all know that India is a country where diversity exists. So we are very diverse. Now, for that matter, in a diverse country, you require a lot of what effort to bring a social order, a social cohesion, and for that matter, to bring social cohesion, caste discrimination perpetuates social divisions and hinders social cohesion. It creates a sense of inequality and injustice among marginalized groups and can lead to social unrest. Government intervention is essential to promote social harmony and unity. Now, fifth one, economic development. Caste discrimination often leads to economic disparities, with certain caste groups facing limited access to education, employment opportunities. Government intervention through affirmative action policies can help bridge these gaps and promote economic development for all. Sixth, education. Now, if you see, the first thing that we did was that to remove the historic injustice, and second thing we did what the constitutional mandates we have brought in, so as there could be equality, justice, social justice, there could be upliftment of those people, the needs of the people could be met. So that was here in the constitutional mandate section. The next part talks about human rights, and the fourth one talks about economic development. Now, caste discrimination often leads to economic disparities, with certain caste groups facing limited access to education and employment. Government intervention through affirmative action policies can help bridge these gaps and promote economic development for all. Now, sixth, education. Discrimination can hinder access to quality education for marginalized caste groups. Government intervention is necessary to ensure that all educational opportunities are accessible to all, irrespective of caste, and that discrimination within educational institutions is eliminated. So, see what happens is once government practices come into being, what is happening is that there could be promotion of more social equality, and when social equality is there, what is happening, discrimination can be removed, and this is happening through how, this is by ensuring opportunities to all the people, irrespective of which caste they are coming from. Now, subject of employment. Seventh, employment. Discrimination in employment can limit job opportunities for certain caste groups. This is absolutely true. See why this statement is given, that discrimination in employment can limit job opportunities for certain caste groups. Now, if you see the conditions in which the general category is working is absolutely different, or you can say it is absolutely they have got all the basic necessities right from the very starting, because they have not faced this discrimination. Now, their ancestors have faced that discrimination, but when it comes to others, what happens is that these people have been facing discriminations for long, and for often what happens is that they have been rejected from many of these opportunities. So when they never had the basic amenities, for example, you must have heard about people studying under these roadside lamps. So what is happening is that since electricity couldn't reach to their place or to their homes, so they have to continue these education, or they have to continue their education there, or like all these kinds of tough situations which they have been facing based on caste. So what happens is the employment opportunity is, or your job opportunities get very limited, because they are not able to face that kind of competition. Now, government intervention is required to enforce what anti-discrimination laws and promote fair employment practices, including affirmative actions in the public sector. Now, if you go over the eighth one, that is political representation, Dalits and other marginalized caste groups have historically been underrepresented in political positions. Now, if you remember, you people have done modern history. So, if you have a little bit idea, not even the entire one, but Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji, during the Gandhi Urban Pact, uh, he was totally onto the favor that separate electorate should be provided for the Dalit section. And why was that? Now, this was because of this only, because Dalits and other marginalized caste groups have historically been underrepresented in political positions. Government interventions needed to promote their political participation and representation, which is crucial for addressing their concerns. Ninth, awareness and sensitization. The government can play a significant role in creating awareness about the harms of caste discrimination and promoting social sensitivity and inclusivity through educational programs and campaigns. So that means awareness and sensitization. The government can play a significant role in creating awareness and about the harms of caste discrimination, promoting social sensitivity and inclusivity through educational programs and campaigns. Now, the country where this caste discrimination or these kind of practices are still existing, what is happening is you will always see that there is a kind of pull factor in these countries which does not make them or push them towards development. Why? Because they are still in the chains of discrimination in historic times, based on the religion factor, communal disharmony, etc. So, in order for breaking those chains, what need to be done is that government should come forward and should create awareness and sensitization program, because that will promote what social sensitivity and inclusivity. So, if this is done, then social inclusivity and sensitivity could be reached. Now, what is the 10th one? That is the legal framework. So, government intervention is crucial to strengthening and enforcing anti discrimination laws and policies. And what are they aiming at? Eradicating caste discrimination. And see, whatsoever is the case, for very not from today, but from past onwards, we have been formulating policies, we have been doing efforts, we have been bringing tons of things that helps in eradicating what caste discrimination. Without a committed government effort, these laws may remain ineffective. Now, what is in conclusion? Caste discrimination is a deeply ingrained problem in India, and that requires what? Sustained and committed government intervention to address. Such intervention is not only essential to rectify historical injustices but also to uphold the principles of equality, justice, and human rights for all citizens, regardless of their caste or social background. So, for all citizens, regardless of their caste and social background. Fine. So indeed, it was a very beautiful article. You can do it for your social justice section. Fine. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The case for caste census in India. Now, is there relation between caste, religion, poverty, and discrimination? What do the social economic indicators show? Does this pattern extend to education and employment? Is the informal sector disproportionately populated by scheduled tribes, scheduled caste, and OBCs? Now, after the publication of caste survey in Bihar, which found that 63% of Bihar's 13 crore population belongs to caste listed under extremely backward classes and other backward classes. Now, what has our Prime Minister said? Prime Minister criticized and rejected the demand for a nationwide caste census. Now, what is your the data indicating? The intersection between class and caste-based deprivation in Indian society is evident in a gamut of socio-economic statistics. Sorry, the monthly per capita consumption expenditure of scheduled tribe, scheduled caste, and OBC households in rural areas were respectively. That means in scheduled tribe, it is 65%. In scheduled caste, it is 73%. In OBC, it is 84% of the MPC. Now, what is happening is the persistence of inequality across caste categories in India can also be seen in multidimensional poverty estimates based on National Family Health Survey. A research paper by scholars from NIT Rourkela has estimated that while on average 25% of Indians were multidimensionally poor, the poverty ratio among STs was 44%. Among scheduled caste, SCs are 29%, OBCs it's 24%, and others it's 14%. A caste, then there's a report. What is that report? Uneven burden of multidimensional poverty in India, caste based analysis PLOS. As per this estimate, while STs, SCs, and OBCs taken together comprise 73% of Indian population, they account for 84% of the country's poor. Now, 50% of India's multidimensionally poor belong to OBC category. That means, if you see what is happening is that India's multidimensional poor. That means all that stunting, wasting, etc. Everything, all those parameters are considered. It is not about hunger and starvation only. So all those your multi-dimensional poor, that means those people who can't afford meals, who can't afford a home, a place to live, a roof under, under a roof above their head. So all those people are considered under your multi-dimensional poor, and 50% of them belong to OBC category. Estimates by scholars from Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative shows that almost 28% of all Indians were multidimensionally poor. So this is what I'm saying, that the definition of poor and poverty has changed. For example, if the person is not able to earn this much of amount, or if the person is not able to have two meals a day, if the person is not having a roof, our result. So all this will be counted under your poor category, or for that matter, if they are not able to have the basic necessities. The poverty headcount ratio among STs was 50%, SCs 30%, OBCs 27%, and others 15%. Examining multidimensional poverty reduction in India, as per estimates, STs, SCs, OBCs taken together comprised around 77% of Indian population. This share increased to almost 84% of the country's poor. Now, multi-dimensional poverty headcount ratio among Muslims at 31% was higher than that of Hindus, Christians, and other religious communities. The Structure Committee report had estimated that 31% of the Muslims were below poverty line. And on the basis of NSS, 61st round, while the poverty headcount ratio among SCs and STs together was 35%, Hindu OBCs were 21%. So, see what you can do is, if you want, you can have a gist of these facts. However, the disproportionate concentration of poverty amongst STs, SCs, and OBCs and Muslims in India have remained stable over time. This clearly indicates that discrimination and exclusion based on caste, ST, SCs, OBCs are, as well as religion, particularly with regard to Muslims, have a casual relationship with poverty and deprivation. Niti Aayog has not published the caste and religion wise data in its publication, and on multidimensional poverty index based on National Family Health Survey 4 and 5. Now, what about education and employment? Just now we have done that with respect to how upliftment can be done through bringing these caste based census. So the general category has a much higher proportion of literates. As per the NSS, only 3% of STs, 4% of SCs, and 6% of OBCs are graduates. In terms of employment status, 30% of the workforce in general category had a regular job, while the proportion of regular or salaried workers among OBCs and SCs was around 20%, among STs was just 12%. The central government itself is one of the largest employers in the formal sector, employing over 18 lakh persons as per union government data. This indicates that the persistence of caste inequality in educational outcomes in reproducing a similar pattern of caste inequality in skilled formal employment, and even 3 decades after official implementation of the Mandal Commission recommendation. The demand for a nationwide caste census was gathered momentum in this backdrop. So when did caste survey begins? The caste system has persisted and flourished in independent India even without the caste census, along with its discriminatory and exclusionary consequences. The report of the Backward Class Commission had the following dictum: there is equality only among equals. To equate unequal is to perpetuate inequality. That is, what they want to say is ki equality persists only among the people who are equals. And if you are going, or if you are trying to equate unequals, is to perpetuate inequality. That means if you are trying to equate unequals, you are trying to bring in more of inequality. The Mandal Commission report extrapolated from the caste community-wise population figures of 1931 census and estimated the combined population of Hindu and non-Hindu OBCs to be 52%. Now, the Article 15(4) of the Constitution enables the state to make what? Special provisions for the advancement of socially educationally backward classes of citizens. Uh, while the population share of OBCs was estimated at 52%, however, only 27% reservation for OBCs in all government services. Fine. In order to keep the overall reservation for SCs, STs, and OBCs together below 50% ceiling set by Supreme Court. Now, what did Indra Sahani judgment talked about? Now, the VP Singh government implemented 27% reservation for public services in 1990 following legal challenges. The Supreme Court upheld it in Indra Sahni and others versus Union of India case. That means, which was that case? The case was Indra Sahni versus Union of India judgment, and this judgment was of the judgment of 1992. And what was the significant observation? Identification of a group or collectivity by any criteria other than caste, such as occupation, education, economic criteria. Now, this cleared the way for OBC reservation in public employment educational institutions in India. Numerous government policies, including reservations and other benefit schemes, are currently implemented on the basis of claimed population share of caste groups. Now, why is there opposition to a caste census? Opposition to a nationwide caste census has been aired from some quarters. And what is that? The exact population share of OBC is greater than or equal to 50% as estimated by the Mandal Commission. Now, what else? Such demands, however, are ready for what? To set into motion the following enactment of the Constitution, that is 103 Amendment Act, which provided 10% reservation to economically weaker section. This economically weaker section within the general category. That means all the other categories, including SC, ST, OBCs, will be excluded. And for what? In admissions to public private educational institutions as well as civil post and services. The law breached 50% ceiling on reservation and faced legal challenges. Now, with Supreme Court itself validating reservation quotas beyond the 50% threshold, the demand for expanding OBC's reservation beyond the 27% Mandal Commission threshold has naturally arisen because 27% figure was derived as a residual from the 50% threshold after adjusting the quota of STs. So if you see, the reservation should not breach the ceiling limit of 50%, and OBCs is having the reservation of 27%. That means 27% seats have been reserved for the OBC category. So what they are saying that the threshold of 50% should not be breached after taking the reservation of all the respective communities. So what should be the way forward? Given the wide divergence of OBC population thrown by various officials, sample surveys ranging from 41% to 56%, only a few or only a full caste enumeration can help in ascertaining accurate number. More importantly, ascertaining the numbers and proportions of individual castes within the OBC category have assumed much significance in the light of concern. Now, what else? The Bihar caste survey, for instance, shows that 122 small caste groups combined together in the EBCs, that is your economically backward classes, category, accounted for 36% of the state population. Now, if you want, you can have these data with you, and if you don't want, have some of them, not all. So, Mona, what is very important, what has the Rohini Commission said? So, Justice Rohini Commission, which was constituted in 2017 by the Modi government to examine the subcategorization of OBCs in the central list. A nationwide socio-economic caste census necessary to evolve scientific criteria for such subcategorization. This would also be necessary for all states. Okay, so a lot of data coming from NSS, from census, from government reports, then a lot of judgment coming, for example, Rohini Commission, Indra Sahani judgment versus Union of India case. So you must know about all of them. They are pretty much important. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so need a collective effort to bring about lifestyle changes to protect environment. Now, what is happening? Framing policies, enacting laws are not enough to deal with the climate. You also know this. We also know, like all of us know this. Now, what has the Lok Sabha Speaker said? The Lok Sabha Speaker, while addressing the parliamentary forum on life, and what is that? That is lifestyle for environment. So LIFE, that is lifestyle for environment. So, the Parliamentary Forum on Life ahead of the ninth G20 Parliamentary Speaker Summit P20. Prime Minister will inaugurate the P20 summit. Remember, it's P20. The P20 summit event attended by the preceding officers of G20 nations and invited countries focused on mission lifestyle. There have also been extensive discussions in Parliament of India on the topic of lifestyle for environment and laws. But it is not enough to just make policies and laws on the problems of climate change. Noting the Prime Minister's word, the idea of lifestyle for environment to the world. Um, what has he said? He said that the mission lifestyle was a comprehensive approach to environmental protection that inspired everyone to reduce what? To reduce, reuse, and recycle. That means the focus of life is for what? To reduce, reuse, and recycle. That means the motto should be so that it should be reducing all the environmental pollutions, anything, any hazards for that matter should be reduced. Then it further should be reused and further recycle should be thought about. Fine. Uh, that is why today we need to adopt such a lifestyle as an approach towards which does not harm our environment. So this is a collective effort to bring about lifestyle changes to protect environment. Now let's move on to the next one. The Tamil author Siv Sankari conferred what? Saraswati Samman. Now, the Tamil writer Siv Sankari was presented with Saraswati Samman. So, what you should know here about is what is Saraswati Samman and for what it is given. So, Saraswati Samman for her book of memoir, that is Surya Vamsam. The award instituted by KK Birla Foundation was presented to her by the Union Minister. It carries a citation that is a plaque and the prize money of rupees 15 lakh. Surya Vamsam is a book of memoirs in two volumes. And what are those? These two volumes together present not only the evolution of an innocent child into an acclaimed author, but also unfold the transformation society has undergone in these 7 decades. Now, Miss Siv Sankari was born in 1942, has a literary career spanning over 5 decades. She has authored here 36 novels, 48 novelists, 150 short stories, 5 travelogues, 7 collections of essays, and 3 biographies. Her greatest contribution to Indian literature in her 4 volume Knit India Through Literature, a compendium of Indian literature. What has been there? See, what in the words of Siv Sankri, she has said that I've been a writer for 56 years. Many have asked me what is good literature. Good literature is something that transcends the barriers of time and creates an impact on the reader. And how is this impact created? That inspires them to think constructively. What is that? Literature. Literature is a mirror. We correct the flaws which it shows us. So on the book Surya Vamsam, she said the book is my autography. It starts at 1.5 years and ends at 78 years. What is that book talking about? So it she says that this is not lied anywhere nor have been exaggerated any character or incidents. So for you, what is important is to know what exactly the book is talking about. So just a minute. So you should know about the Saraswati Samman. And what is that Saraswati Samman? Now, Saraswati Samman, as we have just read, it's an annual award, and it is bestowed upon who? The Indian citizens. And for what work? What is the work they are saying? Uh, the work for outstanding, or the outstanding work in the literary field. And what you say, this is written in any language mentioned in the Schedule 8 of the Constitution, and is being published during the last 10 years. So the cash prize was of 15 lakhs. This has been cited here, and a citation and a plaque of Goddess Saraswati. You must know that this Saraswati Samman was established in 1991 by who? The KK Birla Foundation. This is there very much evident in the picture also. Here in the picture. Fine. You can also think about, yeah, this much is enough. If anything else you see regarding facts regarding Saraswati Samman, then you should definitely talk about that. Let's move on to the next analysis. Now, index of industrial production, that is IIP. So, index of industrial production surges or rises at 14-month high of 10.3%. So IIP surges as manufacturing upticks broaden, but weak exports impacted some segments. Now, India's industrial output surged at a 14-month high pace of 10.3% from a revised 6%. Now, what you need to know here is that while calculating the IIP, which are the industries we are taking note of? So, first, what they said is that electricity and mining rose. That means they are positively contributing. Next is your manufacturing sector. So, manufacturing sector grew 9.3%. Now, with just 7 of 23 major segments recording a contraction compared with 9 in July. Production in the export dependent apparel and chemical sectors dropped. So chemical sectors, apparel sectors, the export here dropped. Computers and electronics also fell 8.7%. Consumer goods production reflected a mixed trend. And what was that? Although durables, output grew for the first time in 3 months at 5.7%. Non-durable consumer items output jumped 9% but was 3.9% below. Now you see what is happening is 3 of the 6 use-based segments recorded a double-digit surge. Other than that, capital goods jumped 12.6% with production reaching the highest level, indicating strengthening investment demands. Primary goods grew 12% and intermediate goods rose 6.5%. We need to see if this buoyancy gets reflected in the sales of India. Just a minute. Yeah, we need to see if this buoyancy gets reflected in the sales of India, inclusive in the second quarter. The next 2 months should ideally see sustained growth if rural demand revives. That means if the demand in the rural sector revives, what could be done? We could see a sustained growth. In the coming month, the external environment will be a drag as major Western countries decelerated. Now, see, here you need to know that the index gives you what talks about the growth rates of different economic groups, and this is for a specified time period. Now you must know who is the one who is compiling this data and publishing it. So it is the National Statistical Office. So who is the one? National Statistical Office. That is your NSO. And this is doing what? This is the one who is compiling and publishing the data. And which is the ministry associated with it? The ministry is Ministry of Statistic and Program Implementation. So Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now the industry groups that it measures are classified under the followings. Now what are those? For example, the broad sectors you have which one? Now if I mm, clearly make a difference. So there are two. One is your broad sector. It would be your manufacturing industry. Since they said that there are close to 23 factors they are accumulating data: manufacturing, mining, and electricity. So three broad categories. The next one is your user based groups. What are those? Your capital goods are there, your basic goods are there, your intermediate goods are there, your infrastructure goods are there, your consumer durables are there, your consumer non durables are there. So all these are coming in your industrial groups that is being referred to. Now, then you should know about the 8 core sectors they are targeting here, based on which your IIP is calculated. This is very important. Many a times the questions are asked for this, and they have done that in previous years also. So, what are those 8 core industries? One is your electricity sector. Other one is your steel. Next one is your refinery products. Next is your crude oil. Other one is your coal, cement, natural gas, and your fertilizers. So this should be memorized by heart: electricity, steel, refinery products, crude oil, coal, cement, natural gas, and fertilizers. So they are the one who are contributing or while calculating your IIP. Fine. Okay. Yes, I think I have covered many a section. There is one thing that need to be done here is I have covered this 26-week pregnancy thing. That means the right of the unborn to live is something which was referred. I did this yesterday. So let's wait for the judgment. What is going to be there, and like who are they favoring for, and what are the points that they have targeted it. So we can do that way, and let's wait for the editorial also, because some authors would definitely write about it. So then we can discuss this in detail. Though I have discussed it this in my previous analysis. You can have a go through to this. Why? Because in both the articles of caste census and social justice editorial, I have discussed about the 50% ceiling that should not be breached while giving reservation. So you can just go through it. Though if not, then there is no need also, because I have covered it here in your caste census in India, so as to bring the socio-economic conditions under scrutiny, and based on that we can provide what efforts and push towards development, etc. Fine. Okay, so this was for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.